What's up, my Cracker Tugas? Joseph Rothschild here, aka MBT, and I topped! Don't say it. This past weekend was the final webcam tournament of the Frostfall season for Elestrals, and I'm happy to report that I did good. I did well enough to make it into the top 8, and then got immediately washed in every sense of the word. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of insight today as to the deck I played, why I played it, the choices I made, my run, and what I expect to do in the Daybreak meta. So firstly, if you're unfamiliar with Elestrals tournament structure, I should tell you this. It's bifurcated into two different types of competitive tournaments. Some are held over webcam, which I vastly prefer, and some are held over the app. The app has grown leaps and bounds, but I would prefer that it did a little bit more growing before I commit to it. This past weekend's webcam tournament was exciting for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it was the final tournament before Daybreak becomes legal, and secondly, it was a unique opportunity to play around in a metagame that was not all the way solved. See, the Elestrals Frostfall metagame has been pretty strange. Because of product delays, it's been way shorter than you would expect. At the beginning of Frostfall meta, undercosted removal spells like Race to the Top made Thunder Nexus far and away the best deck. In fact, the webcam event that was held at the start of Frostfall metagame was dominated by this strategy. But about a month ago, Spark It was banned, which threw the format into chaos, at which point a number of individuals that I'm going to lovingly refer to as the Elestronauts decided that one of their pet strategies they'd been keeping in the back pocket was ready for mainstream success. They debuted Fives at the first webcam Frostfall event post Spark It ban and dominated. Fives, or Crabs if you're a disgusting monster, is a deck consisting of all the most spirit-efficient Elestrals and removal. Think of it like chaos. In fact, I think the only reason that tournament was won by something other than Fives was because Josh went 5-0 in Swiss and then had to leave. He had like another thing he had to do that day. He was just like, fuck it, undefeated in Swiss, I'm out. So for the second and final remote event of the post-Spark It ban Frostfall season, excitement was at a fever pitch. And I wanted in on that fever. Unsurprisingly, the deck that I picked up was, in fact, Fives. The list should be in front of you right now. In fact, for fun, let me show you the decks that placed 5th through 8th in this event. Notice anything similar? It's strange. For this event, Fives felt like the best deck in the room and the obvious choice, but I don't even know if I feel comfortable saying it's like a tier 0 or even the best deck. It was just a really short metagame, and a deck full of guys that are good in a vacuum is really easy to happen on, rather than something that requires a ton of small synergies and has to be tuned over the course of weeks, if not months. Let me walk you through my individual choices, even though they're mostly exactly the same as everyone else's individual choices. 3 Galaxy, 3 Dratuga, and 3 Mustation are the water Elestrals that this deck frequently plays. A lot of people have shaved down a Mustation, and it's not hard to see why. In a deck that is so good at playing spiritually minimal Elestrals, it's crazy to be like, oh yeah, you have to like 2-for-1 yourself every single turn to keep this guy at 6. But the reason I'm playing 2 of him rather than a 3-1 split with Moss Station is because I only own 2 Moss Stations. After that, I'm playing 3 Astrabbit, 3 Lavalith, 2 Moss Station. I think these are pretty self-explanatory. And the last Elestral, which I want to draw a little bit of special attention to, is Viscerus. I'm on 3 of this card because I love how it gets out of control, but my only loss in Swiss was to Super Insane, who the night before the event developed a little bit of theory that I kind of want to expand upon. See, Viscerus is independently a really good card, and landing it on a board state with no runes in the back row means you functionally won immediately. But getting to a position where there's no runes in the back row means that you need to be threatening your opponent's Elestrals with other stuff, or doing trades that necessitate your opponent to flip something at an inopportune moment. If they have any runes, Viscerus is actually one of the worst Elestrals you could have. Frequently it dies to Gorgons, it dies to Tsunami. Shielding it is pretty good in a way that most other decks don't. PTA is kind of frustrating because constantly it'll just be under the necessary amount of attack to actually do anything and pop off. So some casters like Super Insane just removed him and played a vanilla Necruff in this slot. For runes, we're on 3 Shield, 3 Earthquake, 3 Resting, 3 Poison Tipped Arrow, 3 Gorgon's Gaze, 3 Tsunami, 3 Ambrosia, and 2 Nectar of the Gods. The only weird one of these is the 3 Shield of Achilles. Usually this is shaved to 2 in the name of another Elestral. I'm way more comfortable expending to draw, so I figured it was fine. I just love back row. And then the Spirit deck is just 8, 7, 3, 2, a pretty common number of spirits for this strategy. My side deck is whack as fuck. I have Poison Nectar in here because there were a lot of people trying like deep draw combo strategies that I did want to have some game against. I kind of like Pandora's Box, especially because I think the only thing that's going to be able to outpace Fives are combo decks that are searching things from their strategy. Jolton and Feloy Forest looks like a little bit of a strange pick. Let me explain it just a little bit. There's a lot of decks in the format that are looking to perform a Nexus, Earth Nexus, Water Nexus, Frost Nexus, as much as that deck can be considered metagame relevant. And a lot of the time, these stadium runes are really important because they are a bank, just a place that spirits can hang out. In those scenarios, I occasionally have to get into Stadium Wars, and Jolton is a great way to do that. Feloy Forest is maybe not the best pick for this, because while it does pump my own Viscerus, which puts it out of range of a bunch of cards that would otherwise deal with it really effectively, like Gorgon's Gaze during the battle step, the most powerful of the Nexus strategies, in my estimation, is Earth Nexus, which, while it will miss having a Bank 2 Nexus from, will be completely fine having like a 6 or 7 attack Equilinx on their side of the field. These are still reciprocal. And finally, Boombat is a really consistent side deck option for 5s specifically. I feel bad telling Farfa it was so bad and then topping with it in my strategy. It's good against a lot of decks that need a guy to sit on the field for a turn. Think Water Nexus with like a Dratogwa that they want to re-enchant a million times. I saw a lot of people playing it in the side and then boarding it in for the mirror, and I don't get that. I don't want that card in the mirror. Let me talk a little bit about what we were prepped out for. So in preparing for this event, I did the most testing versus, unsurprisingly, 5s. I expected the mirror to be absolutely everywhere, and I was right. A majority of my rounds were the mirror. Playing the 5s mirror is frustrating because functionally it's just setting up positions where you can attack into a way that's advantageous into every possible back row rune, and also never really committing to more than one person on the field, so your opponent can't get a huge Lavalith swing or resting on your laurels or something, unless you're in such an advantageous position that you can eat a big swing like that, which occasionally you can if your back row is like a single Tsunami or something. There's a couple of little intricacies, but it does feel a little more draw dependent than some of these other matches. Second deck I was afraid of was Wexus. So there's a number of like testing circles for Elestrals, and it's my understanding that there is a circle of individuals who are just convinced that Water Nexus is the best thing ever and will just play it until the end of time. I think that deck remains largely unexplored even in Frostfall meta. I'm excited to see if things can happen with it in a post-Daybreak environment where they get a bunch of cool cards like Curabis or Chronodile. While I wasn't so confident that it was going to be everywhere that I would cut like Tsunami from my main deck, I was a little spooked. It ended up being what I lost to in Top Cut, sort of. And then finally, just a catch-all category for stupid shit. There are a lot of combo decks in Elestrals, and one of the ways you can get over 5s is by assembling some sort of combination that this deck that is minimally adaptable can really deal with. Cards like Boombat are really helpful if someone's trying to like bag of wins someone, so I wanted to make sure I had the most anti-cheese stuff possible at my disposal. My first 2 rounds were against Fire Nexus, which is a really cool deck that someday I hope to personally break. Funguide, I'm coming. But unlike other Nexus strategies, it's a combo deck where every individual piece of the combo is dog ass until you get it together. Second round was up against JJPM, actually. We played the 5s mirror, and I was able to beat him. But the first game was like maybe the most lost game I have ever won in Elestral's history. Third round was up against Super Insane, which I lost. I probably mismanaged some spirits, but the deck doesn't really have a good answer to Nekruff if you're not playing Nekruff. Weird. My round 4 was also up against 5s. My round 5 was also up against 5s. And then my round 6 was up against Cryo Scorch Turbo. If you're unfamiliar with this deck, it like voluntarily mulligans 3 times in order to expend a whole bunch of spirits before it starts playing the game. Then it like Cryolings super early and can make Cryo Scorch like turn 2. That's cool, but not game winning. I'd seen this player before in app, and they like did the combo just to get Earthquaked 2 games in a row. I was excited that this time when I saw them, their game plan had radically transformed. They had like Frost Nexus stuff in there. They were going like Frigicub. There was this like Floodgate Spider that I had never heard of. I didn't get to see him, but I was told it was in the list. Interesting stuff, to say the least. Then we made it to top 8. We were the feature in top 8 for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's because I'm so damn famous, I'm sure A-Drive is trying to cash in on it. But also because my opponent was one of the only individuals who's not playing 5s. I feel favored in any non-5s matchup, so I was feeling pretty good about it. But they were on Water Nexus. The thing about Water Nexus is that it takes a long time to play a game, even if it loses. So I expected in Game 3 we were going to go into time, and lo and behold, exactly that happened. On the last turn of the game, my opponent was down to like 6 spirits to my 9, and both of us had a Dratogwa that neither of us could answer. I made a really risky play under the assumption that I beat anything other than re-enchant Dratogwa double Ambrosia. It paid off, and I passed back with the understanding that the only thing that would beat me is trip Ambrosia from the hand to put them ahead in turns.
Wow, Julian with the triple Ambrosia in sudden death overtime to ultimately get enough spirits.
Sometimes you don't want it enough. It was good stuff to my opponent. While it feels sacky, they had expected in Game 3 they were going to go into time pretty much every single round, and as a result, their side deck had a whole bunch of like time options. Things like Sluggle that ensured you were not ever going to win the board, but probably would win if you got to Game 3 with like 10 minutes left. It was really heads-up play, and they played super well the whole time. So what are my takeaways from the event? Well, firstly, despite how the short Monday made you feel, I do want to reiterate, I don't think that Krabs is going to be tier 0 going into Daybreak. While they did get a really powerful powerful new card in Spectaris, a whole bunch of decks got new cards, and a lot of those decks have a streamlined game plan that massively outpaces Summon Gemini Elf every turn. However, those game plans are going to take a little bit of time to be discovered and tightened, and in that interim, I really would recommend playing a Daybreak variant of 5s for any tournaments you're going to be playing this or next weekend. If you'd like one of those, I encourage you to watch this space because this Friday's upload is going to be a Daybreak updated build of the deck that I played last weekend. And finally, I don't think I get much for topping, but I'm going to be opening my prizing along with some other boxes I was sent as a result of the Elestriad on a stream using this YouTube's live function, probably sometime in the next couple of days. So look out for that. That's it. See ya.